Hello, all. Nathan Falidi back here with another good old Ag Uncensored podcast episode. Today, I'm going to try to relate a little fun thing that happened this weekend to the lovely world of ag technology, as I talk about a lot, but I'm trying to have a little fun with it maybe this week, talking about how it relates to some of the things we enjoy and we fight for and we have fun with, and the nerves, everything. So I'm going to talk about the relation of how, agriculture too in general, not just the tech side of it, and how the Masters, which just concluded on Sunday with Rory McIlroy winning in dramatic fashion. And I want to kind of try to relate the two, not to I don't even know. Probably just to, I like to compare things and put perspective and try to kind of reach out the norm. And it's not anything too crazy or controversial this week, as there's plenty of that last week in my last one with lawsuits and then open source and any little update on that, I'll tell you. Apparently, the one group will go after whomever would develop under it, the open source part. So, that's fun. It seems like kind of a weird stalemate of sorts. Anyways, back to the Masters. As the saying goes with it, it's a tradition like no other. In a way, myself, I guess, I kind of think of it that way for me, especially when I go to certain events, particularly one in the summer. Now it's Tech Hub Live. It used to be part of InfoAg, and that's where all the old cronies get together that I've been involved with off and on, and new people too, of course, over the last 30 years of sorts since I was a kid. And it is a tradition like no other. And whether I call it precision ag or not, I guess it, either way. But with that tradition, how does it relate to golf? How does it relate to tournaments like the Masters? That's kind of what I want to get into. So I don't know if any of this will make sense. I'm sure some of it will, but here we go. So all the time, I think there's plenty of confusion around maybe how ag tech is illustrated within agriculture as a whole. For instance, in many nudie, that's not what I meant. News, magazines and articles and things of that nature. It's like I see the same story over and over again. And this was what got me thinking about it. So, you open the front page of whatever big magazine. I'm not going to call out any individual one. They all have the same problem. And even websites of other places. It's like the same crap over and over again. It's all the top people that advertise the most. The big OEMs, the big advertisers in ag. I don't have to tell you who that is. And it's kind of the same story. It's like, oh, we got this latest and greatest. Oh, we just came out with this. This is the newest version of this. And, you forget about what was before, because there's always something new. It's got to be something new. The new this, the new this. The new, now it's robotics. The new is biological, or, AI, whatever. And much like, in this latest Masters, you look at Rory coming back, and he's trying to go for the Grand Slam, and he's won all these others, but he won them a long time ago, and he's had this like lull for, I don't know, it was like 10 years or something like that. And then at the end, he gets so close and he misses the putt, and then he comes back, and then but that's all we think about. We think about that latest greatest moment, champion, winner, win. do we think of all those other struggles and things of, getting close and then just, everything going downhill? And when you see these things in the ag media of sorts, you get kind of lost in the cool newest moment. And that's like any sport. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't have to be just golf, but that is one thing that's always kind of annoyed me and others, is we don't see the rest. And we only see I suppose, the top performers, the big guns, the ones in the shining light. And you don't get to see the other side of it, maybe even how they got there. Some popped up really fast. Some, it's been a very long slog, as for someone like Rory. His parents worked, double, triple shifts and getting him to golf. And it was kind of this build up for, decades and decades. And you didn't really pay a mind of it until this moment. Maybe some earlier stuff in the career and all that, but you don't pay attention to it. It's this person. I think we kind of have a problem in ag tech a little bit too, is sometimes we've just put too much effort into the latest news, the coolest tool, and we don't look through the slog of how maybe that group got there. I mean, the big ones, I wish we'd almost stop talking about them, because it's like, yeah, you're the largest companies in agriculture. Of course you got this thing. Like, I don't care. I want to see how the other people golf. I want to see that other shot. It's also just like during the game, calling the Masters, there's a hole in one on hole 3 or something. I don't know. I can't remember if hole 3 is a par 3 or not, but either way, a great shot. And, it's this, an up and comer or whatever. And it's like, wow. And then you totally forget it. And that kind of reminds me of, other startups coming into play. And it's like, oh, they got this big press release and they got this thing out and it's awesome. And then, they shank a bunch of, bogeys and double bogeys into the water or wherever, lose their balls. And no one thinks about it later. The highlight reel goes away. You never really look at it again. Everyone forgets. That's also what's happened in the ag tech space, maybe in ag in general too, but definitely in the tech space. Is someone raised a bunch of money. Someone said, we're going to build this. We're going to change everything. We're going to disrupt. And then they mess up and they lose their stuff and everyone forgets about it. And I think we need to have a little more context of that. When I make a bad shot in golf, I at least try to remember what I did and what I did wrong. Sometimes I don't care. I guess it kind of depends. But when you're at that high level, you have to learn from it. You have to kind of move on. You keep on pushing through, much like what happened on this last Sunday in the game. And then there's more to this story. Like, you looked at the tears and the emotion after he won, and there's so much more to it. And oftentimes maybe the media side, or us people in general, we kind of we don't think of those things. We want these big shining moments and we don't look at the buildup of it. But then sometimes you have to look at it a different way. So think of it this way. I'll be honest, I'm not a great golfer. I'm not a bad one. I'm a bogey golfer. I can occasionally get my birdie or my par. Even rarely I can get an eagle if I play all my cards right. I rarely do it consistently where I shoot an overall amazing game. I think the best I got on a 9-hole was even. I think that's the best I've ever shot without cheating or, moving the ball a little bit. And, things align, but that's not -8 or whatever. I don't have the best clubs. They're 10 plus years old. My driver was given to me by a friend from where I used to live. And he literally didn't have the time to try out this one driver he wanted. So he bought all 4 versions of it and he tried them out at men's night, and he didn't like this one. And I just broke mine. So he's like, here, have this. And I shot with it and it was awesome. And I have it to this day. And that was, geez, that must have been probably 10 years ago. That made me feel really old right there, thinking of that. But I'm not playing also the game to win a championship, win this giant thing. Usually when I play, I'm just playing to have fun. And that's another way to look at golf in ag tech and agriculture and precision ag, all this combined. Most farmers are just wanting to play the game and have a little fun with it. You know, they want auto steer. They maybe want to change, their row control on their planters and maybe do a little variable rate, maybe not. They just kind of want to go. They just want to play, do it. Their friends are, their neighbors are farming. They want to farm. But then we come in with these high-tech, amazing tools. Oh, you need the $600 driver. It'll make you a better golfer. You need the $2,000 clubs. You need these balls that cost $3 a piece, and you'll be a better golfer. And sure, if you are tuned and good enough and you've practiced long enough, you can actually kind of do that. You can use the tool correctly. And it's like, from what I was saying before in the media, like there's all this attention towards that. That's the marketing, just like in golf. You need all these best things to be great at it and good, when honestly, I mean, I'd play better if I had probably some of those things, but I'm not going to pay for it either, because I don't need $5,000 worth of clubs to have fun at it, enjoy it. And I probably really wouldn't be much better. Is this the problem we have in ag tech? Kind of much like golf, it's a hard game. Farming is a hard career. It takes a lot of time to understand the game, much like golf, to really get good. If you want to be the best, you have to just fight down and really practice, really go above and beyond. And you see people like the top yield award winners, Randy Dowdy and David Hula, who I've worked with their group a little bit. They try all these little things. They're using these top end tools and going above and beyond what a normal farmer would do. Of course, they get these major yields. At the same time, they live in an area of the world where that's capable of happening. You're not going to get 400, 500 bushel corn here where I live. We work with the tools in the area where we learned and have. I grew up on sand greens. Literally, the greens were not green. They were sand covered in oil. That's how the old ways were. The money wasn't there to have this nice green and all these great things. You couldn't learn in that way. Where some of the top end players have this beautiful golf course right next to them, and they have the finances to play the game and do the things. In a sense, think of your own golf game right now and where you are at, if you golf, or maybe it's some other sport. It could be hockey, it could be baseball, swimming, biking, I don't care. Clearly, there are beginners and they are upper tier athletes that just dominate that sport. Yet, all of the materials that we see are made for that upper tier person. And that's how you sell market that. Look at shoes, look at Nikes. Hey, the best runners use this shoe. You should wear it, it'll make you better. When really, the shoe isn't what makes it. The club isn't necessarily what makes you be better. It's your form, it's the time, the effort, your situation. Maybe your one arm's a little longer than the other. The way you swing your hips is a little different than the other person. It's understanding how you work within that sport. And unless you can understand that, you can't get to that next level. And then there's the emotion, the mindset. You can be an amazing athlete in one sport, and then you try to go to another and you're terrible at it. Are we looking at that way in agriculture too with tech? is that you might have a farmer that's killing it. He's a corn soybean farmer, and blah blah blah. If you put him on a farm, where he's at, he's great, top tier. Give him awards. Go ahead. He's got all these great tools. You give him the same equipment, but you move, say, to Canada, different crops. That guy's going to be terrible at what he does. Yeah, sure, there's parts of it he could probably farm well, but he doesn't have the right tools for that area. Yet so much in ag tech and agriculture in general, we promote, we sell the tools for everywhere. Oh, you have to use this. Oh, here's the latest, biggest machine. It's got all these great things. Do that and you'll be successful. When you can have someone down the road with something, 30-year-old equipment, and he actually makes more money per acre because he's honed in the tools he has. It might be older, just like my clubs. I know how to play them well. I've honed into them, and I can shoot a good game. I have a friend of mine who has $5,000 worth of clubs. And guess what? I'll say 80% of the time, I shoot better than him because I've learned how to use the tools I have. I've honed in my older clubs, and he's always trying to figure out the newest club that he's got. He thinks the club solves his problem. He thinks the ball solves his problem. That's what we're also trying to do in the ag tech space. We think this newest, greatest thing is going to solve the problem. This new analytics, this new data set, this new hardware, this new sensor, this new robot, this new biological, this new piece of equipment. It now does this. Now that'll save everything. When actually most people are they can't even get used to it because they were just told the newest, latest, and greatest was in the last article in the last magazine and the last one before that. And all they see are these new things they're supposed to try. And they forget on honing in on actually some of those core things that they actually have. Maybe they have a sprayer already that can do variable rate. Okay, you don't need a $500,000 brand new sprayer to do it. Most every sprayer, you just need a simple controller and you can build a simple map, say off a satellite image like we've done for fungicide maps before. Simple on and off. Put a full rate here, don't even spray here. You can start there with the tools you have and you can do pretty good at it. But so much, we don't even think of that. We don't even focus on it. We focus on this latest, greatest thing, just like in golf. It wouldn't matter what clubs I have if I myself, in my current fashion, played at the Masters. I would still shoot probably the way I shoot. It really wouldn't matter. But I would still have fun. I would still be comfortable. I would enjoy it. I'm also not competing for the top level, as many farmers aren't. They're just trying to play the game with the tools they have. And that's also why they ignore some of the latest, greatest ag tech tools. They're like, I don't need it. I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. That would just get in the way. It would take me too much time to learn. I got to spend my time elsewhere. Maybe, hey, that extra time I could learn it. Well, I could spend that time with my kids. I could go to the basketball game, the football game that I've missed before, or whatever. I could hone in on my marketing skills, which literally might just take me reading a book on how to market better or to take a phone call with someone that helps me with it. That latest, greatest software to help with this might, not saying it won't help, it really won't get me there because I can't hone into it because it maybe doesn't fit for me. And we're just pushed these things and things. And I think if you actually look at your own golf game and farmers look at their own farming game, I think they could hash that out and be like, oh yeah, well shit. Yeah, that new driver, that $600 driver is not going to really help me because I don't even know how to swing a driver well enough now. Same with that newest, latest, greatest robot. Yeah, that's cool and all, but I don't know what to do with it because it's just my system's not built within there. And we're just running into that same old pattern. Anyways, what's the point to all this? I don't know. More or less, look at it a little differently. Look at it at the other things in your life to try to understand why adoption's weird, why people are not bringing these things in. And for investors, of course, they want to invest in that person that's going to be forefront, top tier, winning tournaments. The sponsors, that's why they sponsor the top guys. They win tournaments, they make money, they get the crowd going. And that's great. Those people exist, but that's a very small percentage that are showcasing the best way to do it. And that's all we think we care about. And that's how we'll solve the world's problems in ag. When we're not focusing on how do we get more people to golf? How do we get kids to golf? How do we make it more affordable? How do we make it easier? How do we make clubs that are more forgiving so that they can golf better and enjoy it instead of being frustrated? We focus on the best way to hit the longest ball instead of getting just the ball to the person to hit it that's affordable and finding ways so they don't lose it. Just like many people have tried and many farmers have tried different products, and they try it and it just doesn't really work because it's just much like losing a ball. You never taught on maybe how to properly hit it, what to avoid, how to lay up. We're just forced to push, to be the top, be the winner, win the tournament, win the big tournament, when in reality, the only way to get there is to slug through it and want it so damn hard that you form into what someone like Rory McIlroy and others and Tiger Woods and you name it, Jack Nicklaus winning a Grand Slam, or what, I think Tiger's won 3 of them. That takes a whole nother level of dedication. And we've been building tools for those people. We've been building clubs for those. And sure, they can kind of trickle down to everydayers and to normal farmers, but they also they don't properly know how to use them. Just like, well, it's a really awesome club and these are really cool, expensive balls. And just like in golf, half the reason why people buy some of those newer things is just to look good. It's a vanity thing. It might have nothing to do with they can actually use the power of that great new club. It's just like, hey, I bought a new club, I feel like a better golfer. Much like plenty of farmers I've met. Oh, I got the latest, greatest tractor because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like a better farmer because I'm successful. I can buy this new piece of equipment. They really didn't need it. That can work in that same thought process can work in ag tech. Oh, I signed up for that latest software. It makes me feel good. And I bought this down and I looked at it. It makes me feel like I'm doing better, when in reality, they don't touch the damn thing and they never use it. If you really look at probably the statistics that no one will ever share with anybody, I just know this internally from dealing with them myself. Like 90% of the people that sign up for software don't usually utilize it at all. They signed up, they maybe added some fields, they played with a little bit, and then they just kind of forget about it. They're like, it didn't cost me much. Meh, whatever. And then you have the power users that are like literally 1% of the user base. And they use it a lot. They use all the pieces of it. And then you have another part that kind of dabbles at that time of year they actually need it. Just like golf. You like it, you have the clubs, but you only use it, maybe you want to go out once or twice a year because you're busy with other shit. That's the same thing with ag tech. It's the same problem. You might have some of the tools, but you're like, I'll take a shot at it and swing the club. I'll try a variable rate thing just to try. And then you don't really get better at it because you're just out there having fun. You're just doing it to do it. That's actually how most people look at precision ag. Beyond the core things, GPS is pretty popular. Great. Fine. That is I don't know. It's the bag. You need a bag. Hold your clubs in, all your stuff. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It's there. It's just part of it. People have varying versions of it. It's good enough. Or maybe they have a golf cart, or they walk with a walking cart. Like I said, I don't know if I'm trying to prove a point here, more of just trying to look internally and look at something that recently happened and how that maybe kind of relate to the things we do in agriculture and why they happen that way. because sometimes we get caught in not understanding. We look at these reports, McKinsey report, this is why adoption is bad. But it's just a bunch of charts and statistics and reviews from people. Most people don't really hear why. And most people don't, the people that use it, farmers and service providers, they don't really tell the group why they don't use it because they don't want to make the other person feel bad. Stuff like that. Just like when your friend makes a shot and it's terrible and it goes in the water, you're like, I'll get it next time. You know, you just look forward. You missed the ball. You didn't look at it. And that's how we handle it. And that's okay. But we got to stop, going for a hole in one every time. And we can't always get a par. We can't even, some people aren't even capable of getting a par ever. They're not good enough. They don't have the tools. They don't have the training. So what do we do? Do we, rethink that? Does really anybody go out there and say, hey, what equipment do you have? I don't know. I asked that when I would try to sell our stuff more to farmers, which kind of stopped doing because I didn't really want it or they didn't want to pay for it. They got their golf clubs for free. They got them passed down, or, they just sit in the shed and they're dusty. And I would try to ask that, like, well, what do you even have? Are you even capable of doing anything with this? And sometimes it was no. They just wanted to see something and maybe go out and see why it was the way it was. Are we asking those questions? Are we actually, or are you just selling something to sell something? Are you creating something just to create something because that top farmer or that top ag group said they wanted it? I mean, hell, like some of the conversation on, there's talked about some open source stuff, and there's this one, and there's a change and shift going on in the software world, I'll just say, in a lot of ways in the ag tech space. And I think some of it's getting to the fundamentals, but then when you look at, some of the software that's used, as I illustrated before, all this money and effort, you need it, that ag retailer needs it, this big company needs it. And honestly, like 1% of the people within that ag retailer actually use it. They're the power users, like a few guys. Like literally, that's how it works half the time. And then if you give access to the farmers, very few actually go in there and look at it and care. They just want to pay for the service to get whatever's done. Someone needs to do it. It's a group of people in a small room. Just like there's a small group of people, that can do the best work in golf. It's not a lot of people. And that it changes. One tournament you have someone else that does better, and then, they maybe made a great shot, but they couldn't finish the game. I don't know. I could go on and on with analogies. This is just kind of a fun piece to bring in the Masters and AgTech together. Nothing more crazy than that. And in reality, I just hope people kind of just think of it differently. Instead of following this antiquated business process that someone says it has to work this way, we have to do it this way. We have to make this tool because the farmer should want it, or the ag retailer should want it, this service provider should want it, without understanding how they can actually use it. That's probably the bigger question here. For years, here's a good example, or my dad or us both, whatever you want to call it, for years pushed imagery towards crop insurance for claims adjusting. Just push. It should be on every acre. It should be done this way. And it's like, yeah, maybe that's cool and all, but, and it would just be happenstance, depending on the type of claim and where it was, be kind of a project by project based thing. Even though it should be bigger, shouldn't it? Makes things more efficient. You can see more damage everywhere on a large scale, all this fun stuff. But that's not how it worked. And I didn't really get that. until I actually worked in crop insurance. And I got it and I understood. I was like, oh, they don't need it everywhere all the time. They need it when certain events happen because some of how the rules work, how the systems work, how the people work, how the process works. That tool might exist and it's great. That it might solve in your head all the world's problems, but in reality, you just can't use it. Much like the best clubs and the best balls and the best training, the best education still doesn't make everyone a good golfer. And we have to understand that some farmers are just incapable of learning some of this stuff and applying it and doing it. And we have to stop chasing them either. There's a lot of people in the middle ground that can do a little better, but they take a little different approach. We can't just sell them fancy tools and shiny new balls. We have to dig a little deeper into what their process is. Why aren't they doing these things? What equipment do they have? What is their plan? Where do they sit? And unless you can break that down, we're going to run into these same problems with ag tech adoption, and we're going to still have mostly average bogey and double bogey golfers like myself and some of my friends. So unless someone comes to my door and actually asks about my golfing and tries to help me, I'm going to continue to use my old clubs. And I'm going to continue to probably hit balls that I found on the side and not buy a $30 box of balls. I might buy one box a year, but I don't buy the best. It's like, oh, that'll work for what I got. Until someone comes and actually puts the work towards and say this, and spends the time where I can see the value, I'm not going to go do that. And someone might try that, and I'm still not going to do it. So it also is up to the person trying to push me to see that and not waste a bunch of time honing on the places and the people that works instead of pushing something wrong. But anyways, there's my masters and golfing and all that fun crap analogy. Think about it. You know, it is ag tech. It is a tradition like no other, isn't it? So we'll see you next time. Later, everyone.